Hello and welcome to Tonalist Painting with M. Francis McCarthy. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and the painting that we are doing today is called Forest Brook. It is a 14 by 20 and I painted it back in February. You can see we're missing just a bit of the drawing stage. And what happens there is sometimes I get my camera sort of focused on things and start painting. I forget to actually hit record, and so I will turn on record because it'll beep when it turns itself off, which takes about, I don't know, missing maybe 3 or 4 minutes, something like that. So not so bad considering this painting is, I don't know, the total painting probably 7 8 hours, 7 hours, I don't know exactly. I have everything sped up and then sped up again. We're watching now is maybe 12 or 14 times faster than I actually painted it, something like that. It's sped up. Today is Friday, May 5th here in New Zealand, and it'll be we're a day ahead of you, so it's Cinco de Mayo in the States tomorrow, and in Mexico, of course. I hope you guys all have a groovy Cinco de Mayo. That's an awesome holiday. Great to get out there and party. This is my intention here is for this to be a bit of a bonus video. Actually, it's my second attempt. I was going to do one called Midsummer Dusk, which is a really nice painting, but then I noticed that it was missing the entire color, first color pass, which that's things can be missing, but not really that. That is the bulk, the meat of the painting, and the painting will succeed or fail based on what happens there. This stage we're looking at here, this drawing stage, is also really important. Maybe just as important, but that first color pass is what defines the painting. Things don't move very much after that, and so if that is not up to snuff, it won't be a good painting. That's just how it is. Anyway, I said last weekend that I might see you on Wednesday, and so a couple days later, it's Friday. I am intending tomorrow, which will be my Saturday, to drop the 25th day of 25 Days of Tonalism on you, and I may as well let you know now that there's going to be a day 26 of 25 Days of Tonalism, just because I'm a punk and I do things like that. So that's just extra bonus material. And then, of course, after that, I've got I think it's called 25 More Days of Tonalism. I may just stick with that 25 Days of Tonalism title, because I can see how it can get ridiculous after a while, because I've already, in the studio, I have started another 25 Days of Tonalism, which is like into 75 more studies than we had with the 100 Days of Tonalism. So you can see it gets a bit ridiculous, but I am working when I do those studies in sets of 25, and I haven't been working on those very much lately. What I've been doing in the studio this week is I've still been kind of futzing about with the 1622 I'd mentioned previously, and the 1824 by the Brook, and I had a bit of a catastrophe on by the Brook where I laid down 2 coats of liquid and then did some painting on top of it, and I thought it was dry, and maybe it was dry, I don't know, but for some reason I wasn't getting good adhesion of that paint to that previous liquid surface, and a lot of especially all the black that I had done, it just basically disappeared. And so I'm very curious about that, and don't quite know what the issue is there. I suspect it's just that there's less permeability of the surface since there's so many layers of paint. I don't know. Anyway, I think I saved it, and it was a bit of a heart attack there, watching what you'd painted previously kind of not all of it disappeared, but a lot of it just went poof, you know. And so my solution was to just start painting back in portions into the liquid directly, and I'll let that dry a good couple days before I hit that with another coat of liquid and finish it off. Um, Although I don't know, I might still try and do a bit more color work on that painting. Um, it's harder for me to just let these bigger paintings, 1620s, 22s, and 1420s, and 1824s. It's really quite difficult for me to just let those go with one color pass, or even two. I find myself many times having to go in and restate things a third time, which is okay. They're bigger and go for more money, and they're looking good. But so I've been working on those, and then been getting several small color studies done every day. That'll be a lot of those are going to be realized as larger paintings in the coming weeks. The rest of this month of May. I had been debating whether I would actually even do studies for the large paintings I was going to do this month, but I opted to do the studies, and I think that's a good move. Mostly because I'm getting better all the time, but I still have a capacity. I don't want to call it full-out self-deception, but let's just call it hopeful optimism that goes off the rails at times. And you need to have that, otherwise without that optimism, you'd be immobilized. You wouldn't be able to work. If you didn't have a belief that you were going to be able to do good painting, do something good when you sat down to paint, it would be very difficult for you to do a painting. So anyway, briefly getting back into this Forest Brook, this painting I did back in February, I'm pretty happy with. I ended up skipping like all of February in my big rush to get some burnt umber, some paintings done in the burnt umber background color up on the YouTube and on the blog. And this painting, of course, you can still see little bits of that burnt sienna ground underneath, and I'm still on the fence with I'm not saying I'm making a permanent change to burnt umber, but it's interesting. I like it, that it's of course I'm painting a little differently, and I'm being forced to because of that dark. One thing that is fascinating about it to me is having sort of the darks there, and you're just painting the lights over the top. It's a working on a darker tone is different than working on this middle color that the burnt sienna is. But the burnt sienna, a bit more forgiving in a lot of ways. I can leave a lot more of that peeking through, especially in the sky. Whereas I can leave more of the burnt umber in shadow areas and things like that. So, in fact, this by the Brook painting I was talking about, I've done a lot of painting over some burnt umber passages that, I don't know, I've just seem to evaporate with the coating of the liquid. And not that that's happened to me a lot, but let's face it, the liquid has some type of solvent in it, and that didn't work. So these color studies I've been doing this week are looking pretty good, and I'm hoping to get done this week with that. So I guess since this is a bit of an extended video and a bit of an experiment, I think I'm going to ramble a little bit about an artist named Albert Pinkham Ryder. Somebody doing some work there at the quarry had dropped by a book of his work, and Albert Pinkham Ryder, let's just call him Albert for now, since that's an awful lot of syllables every time we're going to mention his name. Albert is basically kind of a tonalist, but in a lot of ways was like one of these early abstract artists as well, and I would class him as a primitivist as well, in that his drawing left something to be desired. I mean, it was nice. Actually, it's pleasant. His work is pleasant, but he's not an accomplished draftsman. But he did have a really pretty awesome color sense, and you can see he was definitely inspired by the old masters. And you know, I have kind of an attraction to his work. In fact, I went online and was looking at the book I was looking at was called Albert Pinkham, writer something of dreams or whatever. The cheapest price I saw online was Amazon at $43, but those people wouldn't ship out to me in New Zealand. And $43, I probably would have spent that to have this book, but as it is, I'm not going to bother, since it looks like you know, our ratio of New Zealand dollars to American dollars is your dollar's worth half as much more. So $1 here is like a dollar. $1 there is like $1.50 here. So where you start getting into prices of like $100 New Zealand, and I'm like, yeah, you know, for the limited amount of time I'm going to spend with this book, I'm not bothering. But I will say I really like his work, and I recommend checking him out. He's working that, he's in that tonalist groove. And the thing you have to know with like tonalism, actually I have a Pinterest page where you know, Pinterest, I'm sure you've heard of it. They'll throw various paintings at me, and a lot of the things that I class in my tonalist page, many people wouldn't see as tonalism, but to me tonalism is about tone and color tone specifically, and in that way you can almost class a lot of old masters as tonalists, since their work was always in tonal harmony. Where painting really started breaking out of tonal harmony, well, you know, there's a lot of things you can do that have some form or the other of tonal harmony, but the tonal harmony isn't the distinguishing trait. But when you get into the Impressionists and stuff, they weren't that interested in tonal harmony. They were interested in creating dazzling light effects, and they did a good job. I mean, a lot of their paintings are pretty awesome. I'm not dissing them. I'm just not working that way. Anyway, hey, I can see we're getting close to the end here. So hopefully we will be here tomorrow with day 25 of 25 Days of Tonalism. So come on back for that. And oh, you know what? Tomorrow I'll talk about, I started up selling some work on Saatchi, so I'll get into that tomorrow as well. But if you're enjoying these videos, you know, click subscribe. That's great. We're always interested in people subscribing, and you can see more of my work at landscapepainter.co.nz. Check it out. You can follow my blog there. There's a higher res version of this video image on the blog, and we'll see you tomorrow. Meanwhile, take good care and stay out of trouble.